Hey everyone, this is me, the End of Viking, and this is Rise of the Elder Gods. Well, technically it's a game called Seven Souls, but this is the version of the game I got. I think they just changed the name slightly. This is a game for 1 to 6 people, in which each person is going to take on the role of an Elder God who is trying to outdo the other Elder Gods in the role of trying to corrupt these poor investigators that are trying to research into why, well, these Elder Gods are trying to destroy the Earth. You will use your followers. Each person has like the same set of followers that are going crazy, and you're going to try to exert your control over the same 7 followers that each person has. And the attempt to both collect several different types of resources, but also to combat these investigators that are trying to stop you from your nefarious schemes. It is a super fun game of like trying to outthink your opponents and try to like determine what you think they're going to do and where they're going to do it, and at the same time trying to like kind of hide what you're doing as well. So there's some subterfuge going on, some bluffing, some counter bluffing, and it's just, you know, it's a lot of fun, and the artwork is fantastic. But let me talk, well, actually let me show you how the game is played, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Sweet! Alright, so this is Seven Souls. I have set this game up for a 3-player game, but this game can be played from 1 to 6 people, and it does change a little bit with the number of people that playing. The more people you have, the more chaotic the game is going to be. But like I found like a 3-player game is a very strategic level of game, and it's something that I really enjoyed. The solo version of the game is also quite enjoyable, and I do invite you to go ahead and check out the Kickstarter page. You can see that solo game and read the rules for that. Alright, so the way the game works is that you are each a great old one. You are trying to basically assert dominance and like corrupt different investigators that are trying to attack your followers. The way the game works is that there are going to be like 3 of these 3 locations. And in those 3 locations there are these piles of components. They have resolve cards, soul tokens, and power tokens. Soul tokens have a number of 0, 1, or 2 on the other side, like that one has 1, and they are worth that many points at the end of the game. You also have these 3 blessings down here, and that you randomly have some there. You get more than just those 3, but those blessings can be claimed by players if they achieve a certain set of objectives. Like this one is if you corrupt 2 investigators. This one would be collecting 11 power tokens. That would be collecting 11 soul tokens. There's also a couple of altars over here that you can assert dominion over, and I'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But you do that by turning in a certain number of power tokens, and you can see the iconography for the power tokens over there that would have that happen. There are these 3 different spots over here where there's these investigators. They are placed into these spots. I'll talk about those in a little bit, but that's where people are going to be playing their cultists, their prophets, basically their followers, where they're going to use their followers in these locations to try to collect whether it is these resolve cards, the soul tokens, or the power tokens. And also, they are going to possibly do battle with the investigators in those spots as either the investigators attack the players at those spots, or they try to like take over or corrupt that investigator. And you can see the investigators actually have a number of points they're worth in the top left of the card, and if you can claim them, you're going to get those points as well. Alright, so each player is going to have a deck of 7 cards that are going to be their 7 followers. All of these cards are exactly the same. The way a turn works is that each player is going to choose one of their followers, and they're going to place a card denoting a follower in each one of these locations. This isn't done like one player goes, another player goes, another player goes. This is just placed as the players decide. There's no like real turn order. And you do actually stack them up, because if you actually place the same card as somebody else, that can determine like a certain level of turn order, like who will go first and so forth. Depending upon like who placed their card down first in those spots. So you'll notice there are like you can see like here the cards are here, and the cards are here, the cards are here. That denotes like how like the number of resources that are in each spot. So this one has has the largest number of cards. This one has the largest number of power tokens. This one has the largest number of soul tokens. The way the game ends is once one of these 3 locations has run out of 2 of their resources. When that happens, you'll total up the points and see who has won the game. All right, so I'm not gonna like play out a turn. I'm just gonna like place these cards down just to kind of show you how this works. As long as you don't tie with the other players, you won't have to worry about the possibility of like having to do battle with the other players. But I am going to forcibly make a tie happen just so I can show you that aspect. Let's go here and let's choose that one and let's go like so. All right, cool. So now I've placed those down. So after each person has picked, you'll pick up the cards in those spots and you'll reveal those. So we have a 7, a 6, and a 3 in this spot. So the 3 goes first, and then the 6, and then the 7, and you'll just place those down like so. And then the next one, we have a 2, a 5, and a 6, and so we place the 2, and then the 5, and the 6 like so. And this is the one where I made a tie happen because I put 2 1s down in this spot. Now it should be noted that when this happens, like after the turn's done, you can't use the cards that you've placed down in these locations the next turn. They are considered to be resting, and then so you'll go a turn without having access to those cards, but then the next turn you'll get them back. And so that you're always going to have like 3 of your investigators resting at some point. So just keep that in mind. All right, so like resolving is pretty easy. Like you just start with like the level 3, and then you go to level 6, and then level 7, or whatever you happen to have. And then each of these cards will give you different things. So you get to pick which one you want to do. So in the case of this card, like you can either take 2 soul tokens, or you could like with this icon. As you can see, there is that eye icon or whatever, and that eye icon actually matches up. Here, I'll move this card so you can see. Matches up with that. But because you can see there are like those lines around it, that means you could take 2 resolve cards from another player. This particular card here. So you're going to take 2 of the power tokens and then take 1 power token from another player. This card here, it only has 1 available action, and that is take 2 power cards and then take 2 power tokens and take 2 soul tokens from the spot that you're on. And so each person would then resolve, and because nobody tied, you're not going to worry about that. Don't take the cards back yet, because you have to determine where the investigator attacks, if they're able to successfully attack. Now, like here we have on this 2, like this action, like those are the same. This one you're going to take 2 resolve cards from the spot. Soul token. This is, like you can see, this is going to make more sense here in a little bit when I talk to you about these resolve cards. These are like level 0 resolve cards, and they're the same as these. That means that you can take one of these cards and you can force somebody to add it to the resolve deck, including yourself if you so desire. So that is an option. You'll see why. You see, resolve cards, having a bunch of them can mean that you like it can satisfy a certain point, like a blessing requirement, having resolve cards, or like you would use it for your personal goal. You get 2 of these cards dealt to you at the beginning of the game. You get to pick one. Like my personal goal is to have the least number of soul tokens at the end of the game, and that's going to be worth 5 extra points if I do so. As I said, there are a lot of these, and then one of these, like this one here, it's worth 7 points, and having the most resolve cards, including ones that have no value to them, like those Cthulhu cards, could be your goal to getting 7 extra points. All right, so we get to this last spot, and you can see we have these 2 level 1 cards. So in order to figure out who is going to go of those 2, each person has a resolve deck, and you get, at the beginning of the game, you'll get 4 of these level 0 and 1 level 1. So what happens is that each player will decide whether or not they're going to power up their resolve by spending any power tokens they might have. Power tokens can only power up a card that actually has a value on it. You can't power up a level 0 card. But if you're powering up each person, then after each person decides, you'll flip a card over, and then you'll see who won. So in this case, like this is level 0, this person's level 1. They're going to get to go with their follower. The other person does not get to go with their follower on that particular occasion. But because you've won, the player that wins has to give their winning card to the other player, and then they get to add that to their resolve deck. Players are allowed to look into their resolve deck at any time to see how many of each card they possibly have. But when they do, they have to shuffle their deck because you can't tell what's coming up. Resolve cards, like the ones that are on the deck, are either going to have like a level 1 on them, or they will have a card that has a level 2 power on them. So you can get ones that are that powerful. All right, so also, like level 1 and level 2 followers are the only ones that are able to possibly corrupt a investigator that's on a spot. Each investigator will have a number like on the bottom like so that has a number 4, and then like this one's a 4/4. What that means is that if I want to try to corrupt this, I would have to pull cards over from my resolve deck. And I would be able to get a total of 4 points to corrupt this investigator, and I would only be allowed to flip over 4 cards to do so. I am allowed to power up those cards each and every time that I turn one over, but once again, if it's a level 0 card, any power tokens you spend to try to power up won't do anything, and you've used them. Also, you do discard those resolve cards when you're attempting to power that up. And so, like, they're gone. And so after you go through those 4 cards, win or lose, whether or not you corrupt the investigator, you do lose those cards. But if you do manage to corrupt the investigator, you can see that having this at the end of the game is going to be worth 6 points. Also, this is the time when you're activating players, if you get enough power tokens to be able to take one of these altars, that's when you could do so as well. All right. So finally, after all that is done, you're going to find out you're going to have a investigator attack. And so investigators attack by, you look at the top card in the investigator deck over here. You can see it's going to be the person at the key. This is the person that's going to attack. And so how this works is that you're going to look, and this tells you that line in the middle means that it's going to attack the player who's got the investigator that's in the middle. Now, if you have lots of players, like if you have like 5 players and you're playing, you're going to have lots of people that are in the middle, and all of those are going to get attacked. If you are playing, like in this card here, means that whoever is on the bottom of the pile goes. And then the bottom of the pile could be people that are tied. So multiple are going to get attacked. But when you get attacked, all you do is you look at this thing and you see the person that's in the middle is going to get attacked, and they will be forced to discard two of their resolve cards that they have. And so they'd have to get rid of those and lose those particular cards when they get attacked. Now, if they corrupted this particular investigator, that would prevent that attack from happening. So just keep that in mind. After the turn is done, you will, each person, as I said, these particular cards that they used, you would hand those back to the players, but they would turn those face down because they are resting this particular turn. And then you would remove these, and then you would place 3 new investigators, like so. And then you could look here and you'd be able to tell the person at the book is going to be the one that's going to attack. And that would play into your decision. The gameplay will just continue, as I said, until you clear off, until one of these 3 locations has, had all of the resources in 2 of the spots gone. At that point, the game is over, and whoever has the most points will win the game. You know, it is a game of conflict. It's a game of like trying to outthink your other players. It has wonderful reveal moments, and I love the theme and the artwork. It's just a heck of a lot of fun. But let me talk about this and more in my final thoughts. All right, so there you go. That is, well, 7 Souls. All right, this is one of those games where, like, you have the different types of resources, all of which can be used for several different things. Like the power tokens can be used to claim, like, your different, like, altars or whatever that are. Oh, and I should have mentioned one thing. I forgot to mention this. When you claim an altar, you have to choose one of your character cards and you place it on top of the altar, meaning that you've basically decided you can't use that particular follower anymore. Because, you know, that's kind of removed from your options when you're going to be placing your cards down. So it is one of those things where, yes, it's worth a lot of points, but you do have to, like, do I claim it now and then not have as much access to, like, a follower, which, you know, or do I do it later? Hopefully there's still an altar left. You know, things like that come into play. And I do like that kind of thing where it's like, you're like, oh, you know, it's like, you know, is it worth it right now, or is it, can I hold out until next turn, or will there be no altars left when I have it? And you are only able to take one. You can't take them both or whatever. Just kind of like the blessings on the bottom. You can take one of those. You know, so do I take one right now because I just earned it, or do I, you know, hold off and maybe get a better one if I wait a little bit? You know, so there's some cool aspects and some cool decisions, and timing that is really important in this game. And I do like that about it. As I mentioned, I really like reveal moments. If you watch the videos, I do like the whole thing of revealing the cards and seeing what's on each spot, and then trying to, like, outthink, because you know, you don't really want to combat people too much. I mean, like, it's one of those things where, yeah, if you can be the one that makes sure that you get to take your actions and the other people don't, I mean, that's obviously a really, really good thing. But, you know, it's much better just to not have to worry about it, in my opinion. So, like, trying to think of what player is going to put their you know, card there, and you know, I want to make sure that I really want to use, like, my number 7 card, because I get a lot of stuff using that. But gosh, you know, I really feel like at least one other player is going to do that, and, you know, is my resolve deck good enough to be able to beat that player so I can take it? So there's some cool decisions like that, and, like, just some tension moments, which I think are always good. You know, any game that has, like, an increase of tension and a release of that tension kind of just, you know, gets you going up and down on your, like, your, like, I don't know, like, basically, like, there's like a ramp up and release and a ramp up and release, and for that just I always really enjoy that aspect, and, like, that's all a portion of, like, the trying to outthink the other players and, like, try to think of what they're gonna do, and, like, trying to combat that, you know, the whole I think that you think that you think that I think, and I think that's always a good thing in these games. So I already mentioned that the artwork's fantastic. I mean, like, artwork is reminiscent of some video game I played. I don't know what it is, and I don't know. It says art by Rhys A.P. Gwyn. I'm probably, you know, Rhys Ap Gwyn. I wish I knew, but they really knocked it out of the park with the artwork on this one. But regardless, it is a very, very highly competitive game. It's a highly like, kind of chaotic competitive game, which is something I enjoy. I also like, the game plays differently. You know, like, when you have 6 people, as I said, 6 people, it's really, really chaotic, and there's a lot of action going on. A lot of people are butting heads. And when you get lower in the numbers, like when you play with 3 people, it's a much more thinky game. So it's one of those things where, what kind of what type of game am I looking for this particular time? Do I want to get 6 people together and play, like, a crazy, you know, all against all type of moment, or do I want to have, like, a well thought out, planned out, you know, logic filled game? And it says something about a design that, like, you basically have kind of 2 experiences in one box, depending on what you want. So it's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. I love the theme. I love the art. If you have any questions about it, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. as always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And just you be the most awesome version of you that you can be. You know, I'm trying to do the exact same thing, and I think if we all band together and do that every single day, this world's going to be a heck of a lot better one to live in. So until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, and you're awesome.